6 months after Germany saw its first corona case, many Germans feel relatively at ease. But Germany's leading research institute warns that the worst may be yet to come.
Ladies and gentlemen, this latest rise in COVID-19 cases here in Germany is leaving all of us here at the Robert Koch Institute very concerned. After we had managed to keep the number of cases stable for several weeks, we have again seen a significant rise in cases for several days.
The government warns that the new COVID-19 clusters must be contained to prevent a second wave.
If now in the summer, through our leisure and travel behaviour, we cause a rise in the rate of infections or in overall infections, then it will become all the harder to keep the situation under control this autumn.
So far, Germany's health system has not been overstretched by the virus. Over the last 6 months, more than 200,000 people in Germany were confirmed to have coronavirus and more than 9,000 lost their lives. Polls show Germans continue to support the cautious approach of Angela Merkel's government. I believe that the government has controlled the crisis well. Compared to other countries, Germany has managed. In face of new outbreaks, Germany has announced it will introduce mandatory tests for travelers returning from high-risk countries.
We're joined now by Ralph Brinkhaus. He's parliamentary leader of Chancellor Angela Merkel's CDU-CSU group in the German Bundestag. Mr. Brinkhaus, welcome. Germany is introducing mandatory tests for people returning from high-risk countries, but tests for all aren't legally possible. Do you think it's time for Parliament to consider creating new options?
No, it's no time for everyone to pay attention to the virus. It's no time for everyone to take responsibility. And if I'm in a situation that I have to travel or that I have traveled into high-risk countries, I guess it's a personal obligation for everybody to get tested out of his responsibility for the others. So we are talking a lot about political measures like this mandatory tests now for people coming back from those countries. But I guess we have to talk more about the single individual responsibility of everybody.
And if people don't take that individual responsibility, would you be in favor of mandating tests for everyone?
So we have to watch the situation very carefully because, as you have mentioned in the report, we are in a situation that we have higher figures of people who get infected. And out of this reason, we have to be more careful than we used to be in the last weeks. This is quite normal. This is not the second wave, but this is a situation that we have higher figures. And out of this reason, we have to be more careful. We have now the situation that many people are coming back from abroad, not only from European countries, but also from other countries. And so this is a new risk. This risk is higher than, let's say, in March or April, because of the summer holidays, and so we have to pay attention.
You talked about the higher figures, and Germany's Robert Koch Institute itself is very concerned about these higher figures that you alluded to. But you yourself, looking at busy scenes in parks and airports here in Germany, do you believe that a second wave can be prevented?
Yeah, a second wave can be prevented if each individual takes responsibility. So keeping a distance, not being in big crowds, and have all these protections you need. And I guess there are many possibilities for everybody to take care about the others. And people, not all, because most of the Germans are very responsive in this case, but many of them have forgotten about it. And so it's the task, not only about of media, but also from the political side, to switch the attention of the people to this item, to say, okay, you have to be carefully.
Well, this was about Germany, but what about the inner EU borders? How close do you think we are to seeing potentially new checks and tests at these inner EU borders?
So if every country within the European Union is taking responsibility, I guess we can avoid it. So if we have local hotspots of corona, I guess we have to fight against these local hotspots and not to close borders. And so every country within the European Union is in the responsibility that we can keep our borders open, because this is one of the main items of the European Union, to keep the borders open.
Individual responsibility and keeping the borders open. The message from Ralph Brinkhaus, leader of the Conservative CDU-CSU group in Parliament. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's have a quick look now at some other developments in the coronavirus pandemic. Global deaths from the virus have topped 650,000, with nearly a third of those thought to have been in Europe alone. That's as fears of a renewed surge in infections push a number of countries to reimpose restrictions not long after they were lifted. China has reported its first case of domestic transmission in more than 2 weeks, with a number of new clusters of the infection scattered around the country. And in Vietnam, authorities have put the country's fifth biggest city, Da Nang, on lockdown after 15 coronavirus infections were discovered in a hospital. Public transport has been cancelled in and out of the city, which is home to more than 1 million people.